You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
Come on, man. I'll bite your legs off.
I can take it.
Great power comes great responsibility. We have a fault. Get to the chopper! Andy! There's the flesh wound. I am the father.
Buried within the uncharted depths of waters surrounding a group of islands off the 50th parallel lies man's most formidable challenge. The awesome awakening of prehistoric monsters long thought extinct. Science was baffled and powerless. A terror-stricken humanity knew that it was on the brink of total destruction. A once proud civilization now had to place its trust and hope in Godzilla and his powerful ally, Robot Man. In concert, they would fight this evil in a duel to the death. Battling by day, battling by night, it was more than a race against time. This war was an all-out effort whose ultimate purpose was to save our planet from total destruction. Now came the moment of truth. The ultimate battle. Titan against Titan, giant against giant in the most spectacular battle yet. To see it all in Godzilla versus Megalon.
And welcome back to the 25th episode of the Monster Movie Stompdown section of the Sludgecast Show. Of course, you got Sludge here, sitting across from me.
Here's Mark.
And our brother from Texas.
I'm over here in freezing Corpus Christi. It's a very chilly 47 degrees.
Chilly 47. It's warmer here.
Yes, I
wow.
like it.
I think that's a first. We're older guys as far as the three of us, and we tend to, just chat about the weather on the episode occasionally, especially with Ruben being in Texas. And it's actually colder there for once. Usually it's colder here. Hey, great news before we get started on this awesome episode, because we got a great Godzilla movie to talk about tonight. Ruben texted me the other day, and he had some amazing, amazing news from RJ. Ruben, would you like to share what RJ said?
I do not recall.
I got a text about In-N-Out Burger or something like that.
Yeah, RJ went to In-N-Out Burger and actually said it wasn't bad.
Yes.
And with that, I wrote him out of my will. So now he's not getting that $10 he was going to get. And so he's out $10 now. And but to put it in but then after discussing it with him, he fell right into my trap. Fell right into it. After talking to him about it, he goes, well, believe it or not, RG does not eat a burger at Whataburger. He loves the chicken strips, and that's what he always gets, or the chicken strip sandwich. She goes, you know that? I really hadn't had a burger at Whataburger before, so I really can't tell you.
What?
But if this gives you, that's what he said. And I'm like, really? And I said, okay. And then he said, but I like Five Guys better than I like In-N-Out.
Oh, my gosh.
All right.
Oh, that is blasphemy. I mean, first off, how could you go to now? And everyone knows I'm very pro In-N-Out, and Ruben is very pro Whataburger. I will still defend a Whataburger burger because they are good burgers. They're just not as good as In-N-Out burgers, and that's okay.
Over Five Guys. Yeah.
But yes, especially over Five Guys. Oh man!
So
and the fact that he's been in Whataburger and never had a Whataburger. RJ, man, I was all defending you and excited. Now I'm just, I'm glad you're out of the will, okay?
Well, he's not even going in our will.
He's gone totally.
I'm glad you brought it up because I'm able to do it publicly now in the podcast rather than in a text. 'Cause when he told me that, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to tell him. I can't wait. Because but he did say he goes, I had a craving, Dad. I have to go and get one, and I was so disappointed. So I'm gonna get him to try. I'm gonna get him to try a burger at Whataburger. Is what I need him to do. That's what I need him to get.
I mean, In-N-Out's still better, but Whataburgers. Yeah. I won't dog Whataburger for being a good burger because it is a good burger. It's just not an In-N-Out burger. So. Anyways.
Of course not. It's way better.
No.
Okay, so if you want to just spit it all out, I have not had an In-N-Out burger. I have had a Whataburger.
Oh, man.
And they are very good. Very good.
Now, I will say this about Whataburger as far as defense of the company. I do think the Whataburger fries are much better than the In-N-Out fries. I will say that much. Yeah. So, but that's about all I'll give them. Yeah.
Well, the way I look at it is In-N-Out is Megalon and Whataburger is King Ghidorah. That's just
no, that is way too far. That's too much of a gap there.
Hey, I could have said In-N-Out was Godzilla 98. I didn't say that, right? I said Megalon.
Okay, that would have been Megalon's better than 98, that's for sure. So, and obviously, if you guys haven't guessed, Godzilla vs. Megalon is the movie we're talking about tonight. So we're super excited about that one. And just for the listeners that we know, we have got an extra guest in the house. She's going to make sure to be as quiet as she can. But my niece is in the house tonight. She here in good old Tennessee, like most areas of the country, we've been hit with the flu pretty bad, and her school system is closed for the rest of the week. So she's going to chill and listen to us talk about Godzilla movies. And if she's quiet enough, we told her that she can tell us what her favorite Godzilla movie is at the end of the episode. But since she's here,
I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, can't wait to hear it.
So you want to go ahead and say hi, Ava?
Hi.
So she's sitting here joining us. So if you hear a little cough or a little apple crunch, that's her in the background being quiet and polite as she can. So, but we're going to definitely get this one started. Super excited about this movie. This movie came out in March 1973 in Japan. This was actually the first Godzilla film to sell less than 1 million tickets. Sold 980,000 tickets over there. So almost bottom of the barrel. We've got another movie that's definitely, I think, far superior coming that sold less tickets than this, but this was the first film to ever stoop that low as far as ticket sales. But of course, now this movie came out, and it actually originally wasn't even a Godzilla film. Originally, this movie was supposed to be. Toho did a kids contest to design a robot superhero, kind of like Ultraman, or in the design of like Mazinger Z, and Jet Jaguar is the character that won, and they were going to make his own movie, and it was going to be Jet Jaguar versus Megalon. And they went ahead and got started on the film, but Tanaka felt that Jaguar couldn't carry the film on his own. So they brought the script back to Jun Fukuda, who directed the film. Also did Godzilla vs. Monsters, Son of Godzilla. He does the next couple Godzilla films as well. He brought it to him and Shinichi Sekizawa, and they worked on the script and included Godzilla, and then they brought in Gigan as well. So we had a duo versus duo type deal. So Gigan was a pretty big hit for a monster in the previous film, and so they brought him back for this one. They had a somewhat okay budget on this movie because they were actually able to build a new Godzilla suit for this one, because obviously the previous Godzilla suit from Godzilla vs. Gigan and Destroy All Monsters and Godzilla's Revenge and Godzilla vs. Smog Monster had just been beaten to all crap. So they built a new one, and this suit actually went on from this movie to be used in 5 episodes of Zone Fighter, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was several.
I believe so. Yeah.
I think, yeah.
I believe it's 5. Because
actually Godzilla teams up with Zone Fighter, which was Toho's answer to Ultraman. And they did episodes where Zone Fighter and Godzilla teamed up and fought Gigan, and even Ghidra in the show. So, and the suit that they used for Gigan was a new build from the previous one that they used in Zone Fighter as well. And of course, the Ghidra suit in this one, the Ghidra suit that they used in Zone Fighter was left over from the Ghidra suit from Godzilla vs. Gigan previously. So a lot of stuff from these two films came out in that show. But anyways, back to the movie section of it. Of course, the movie starts off a pretty simple plot. We've got the underwater kingdom of Seatopia is wanting to exact revenge on the Toplanders for their nuclear testing, and they bring out Megalon to attack the world. Of course, the key characters is a scientist inventor who creates jet jaguars. His name's Goro. His little brother Rokuro, I think is his name, if I'm mistaken. And then his best friend as well, who's supposed to be a race car driver, but they never really kind of dive deep into that, a little bit. You get to see a cool car chasing here or there, but don't really jump into it, which would have been cool if they'd done a little bit more. So anyways, they get entangled in this Seatopia plot, and the Seatopians show up and they take Jet Jaguar and they use him to kind of guide Megalon around this path of destruction. But of course, the Goru and they manage to get back to Jet Jaguar, get him back on track, and actually send him off to get Godzilla to help stop Megalon. And of course, when Jet Jaguar beats Godzilla back and takes Megalon on by himself first off, which was a great sequence. And then Godzilla shows up, and so does Gigan, and all craziness ensues at this point. And it is just a super fun film. This film definitely was one of the first of the lowest Godzilla, sold tickets, and as far as what money it made, came over here in 1976. This was the second film that Cinema Shares had picked up. They did, of course, Godzilla vs. Gigan, and released this one right on the coattails of King Kong, actually. I mean, that was, they were kind of really hoping to pick up on that. Of course, it was Godzilla. He was more stapled here at this point in the 70s, but hoping it was do better than it would have. And so he was coughing up a storm here. So it did pretty good, actually. Not too bad. But of course, most people know this film because this film was the TV staple of the late 70s. I mean, this is the movie that everyone saw. I mean, you may have picked up Godzilla vs. Smog Monster, you may have seen Godzilla vs. Gigan, or you may have seen Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. But at some point, guaranteed, this is where you saw this movie was on TV. It was on every Saturday. Yeah. Even when I was a kid. I mean, it was probably the most seen Godzilla film for me, and I know it was for you guys too. But it caught a lot of flack for being real low budget, for being pretty bad special effects. But this movie definitely, I think we could all agree, is probably got the most cult status of any Godzilla film there is, without argument. Would you guys agree to that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I mean, it's and I think I've mentioned before, this is the movie I introduced Godzilla to RJ to. I mean, this was the movie I said, okay, RG is about to get introduced to Godzilla. This is the movie I showed him. This is the first one he saw. So this is that's how much, even though it's wonky, like I said, it's got its negatives. It's for a kid, man. This is an excellent movie, I think. Oh yeah, it's absolutely tons and tons of fun. This movie is, and that's what let's get into. I mean, for this is a movie where I think. They're probably out there, but I don't think there's a Godzilla fan out there that can say they don't like this movie, because it's for all of its flaws, and there's a lot, and we'll get into them. This movie's an absolute blast. I think this is probably one of the most fun films of the Showa, especially that mid-late 70s era, in my opinion. Yeah.
It is. It starts out kind of slow, but kind of cool. With the little car scenes and doing the off-roading and that kind of stuff, and so it kind of builds up to a Godzilla appearance, and it really makes it an interesting movie for sure.
Oh, definitely.
It and it keeps a kid's interest, especially a kid. I mean, it kept RJ's interest. I'm going right off of that. And actually, to tell you the truth, my nephew, who's older than RJ, my nephew was born in '92, so he's way older. That's how I introduced him to Godzilla, with this movie also. It was actually a VHS that I bought him. It was a VHS with Megalon and the Snow Creature. It was a double feature VHS.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
that one. Who was it that? Which release was that one? I'm trying to remember which company released it at that point. Because I remember that release that you're talking about. It wasn't Good Times.
Yeah.
Because Good Times only did a single release.
It wasn't Good Times. I'm trying to remember. I mean, he still got it. Let's just put it that way. He still got it to this day. But it was Snow Creature, and I know it's because it fell into public domain there for a little bit, so everybody was.
Oh man!
Just releasing
This could be the most released Godzilla film stateside, especially during that VHS boom.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of any other Godzilla film that was released through more releases and more release companies than Godzilla vs. Megalon. I mean, everybody wanted to capitalize on the money on this film.
Yeah. And so that was the very first one. RJ also I got that one. I just had I found Megalon somewhere, half price books or something, just to Godzilla versus Megalon. But I know my nephew still has that one to this day. And it's a cheap VHS, but they were out there. They were all over the place.
I know mine. I've still got. I don't know if I can't remember if it's the exact. I'm thinking it's the same one from when I was a kid, but I've got one of those original. I think it was maybe Alpha Video releases, which had the original poster of Godzilla and Megalon on the World Trade Centers. There was actually.
And you were talking to me.
Yeah,
about that
yeah,
earlier.
and that's the one. Yeah, that's the one that I think RJ had somewhere. It's in a box somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah, there's
it's
one.
Either that one or that one just has this big. I mean, every time I see it, I would pick it up. So.
And there was so many.
There's
different
so many
covers
different.
there's
so many different covers on there.
Oh yeah. Well, let's jump into it. I mean, there's a lot about this movie too. I mean, especially when it came over, and I do want to say something about that as far as the cover. That original promotional art that Cinema Shares came out with did feature both of them on the World Trade Center, even though none of this movie takes place in New York. And you got to see that on a couple releases back then on VHS. There was one case, and I can't remember which company that released it, that actually had it was a red case that had that, and that's actually that's the poster. A very rare version of that VHS was the red box case, and I actually have a copy of that upstairs as well. But since obviously what happened in September 11th of 2011, 2001, when 9/11 happened, everybody pretty much, I mean, nothing came out as saying, we can't use this poster anymore, but everybody who released this movie from that point on stopped using it. They started using, most of the time the original Godzilla vs. Megalon poster from Japan, or an American version of that. They completely stopped using that original one, and so it made a couple of those kind of skyrocket in price a little bit as far as the value, because they just didn't print that anymore. But I mean, super, super fun a film. I want to know what we think. What's Ruben, let's go to you.
By the way, all right. First of all, it was Good Times that released that double feature.
Oh, was it Good Times?
Yeah, I just pulled it up. It was Good Times. Yeah.
Dang, I was thinking
that's
Good Times.
What it was. Yeah.
I didn't know that they had done a double release, but I am wrong. Yeah. It happens. It's okay.
Yeah. I was like, man, you're right. Then I thought, well, I was picturing it in my mind. I'm like, I could have swore it said Good Times on it, and it was. I just pulled it up on eBay. It's going for $12.99. At least the one I pulled up, which is a lot, because I paid $5 for it brand new, back in 1994 or whatever it is. But back on the subject, what I liked about the movie first, you touched on it. It was on when I was a kid. It was on all the time on TV. So it's one of these things that, you turn on the TV on Saturday afternoon and it would be on, one of these would be on. Now this one, this one did get, I remember seeing this one because I remember it came, you mentioned it came after King Kong, and it was at that same theater, that theater, Ayers Theater that I always mention.
Mm-hmm.
It would bring, they're the only ones at Corpus that I can remember that had Godzilla movies. Back then it was only one theater. You couldn't catch a movie at multiple theaters. So it was there, and I did see it at the theater. And so it brings back a lot of nostalgia for me. What I like about the movie is it's got a lot of stock footage in it, but it's still, it's a pretty, I would say, decent story. I wouldn't call it excellent, but it's a good story. I think they did an excellent job pasting together the stock footage to make it look all right, even though you could see the difference in Godzilla costumes in some of it and some of them, and you could see where they gave Gigan lightning as a coming out of his antenna, I guess you'd call it, or whatever, and you can see some of the scenes where it's Ghidorah's lightning from another movie, because there's multiple you can see all that.
But 3 films total that they pulled stock footage from on this one?
Yeah, exactly.
God versus Gigan, Ghidorah 3 and a monster, and then actually War of the Gargantuas. There's a scene of that in there.
yeah. So and so, but I thought they did a pretty decent job of piecing that stuff together and making a fun movie, and it is geared toward kids. I mean, I'm just gonna, I don't think anybody would disagree that this movie was not made for a teenage or an adult Godzilla fan. This was made for the Ultraman fan in Japan. The kids. And as a matter of fact, they had kids design Jet Jaguar. So I mean, overall, I like the story. The special effects are subpar, but I still liked it. And I like the new Godzilla suit. I'm glad they got a new one. If anything good came out of this movie, is that they got a new Godzilla suit out of it. And so I like that. She said just the fun of it. That's the only thing I could really say is the fun of the movie. It's a lot of fun, and it's sitting there and watching it, you're kind of like, I can see why it got a cult status, because it's the kind of movie that for a movie to get that cult status, it's got to be fun, and you've got to be able to laugh about it, and it's not take itself so seriously. And this movie is not a serious movie. This is not Godzilla 54 with a serious subject. This is Godzilla as a hero. This is Godzilla, teaming up, wrestling WWF style.
Oh yeah, dude.
Fighting Gigan and Megalon WWF style. This movie is not to be taken seriously.
And I think that
it's fun.
You're right about that, because it's definitely not to be taken seriously, because it is just an absolute fun film. And being the kid who created Jet Jaguar and won that contest, how awesome would that have been? I mean, like, dude, my creation, I'm an 8-year-old kid. My creation is on the big screen. Like, that's absolutely awesome.
That's what I think. I think that adds a little bit to this movie, knowing that if you know that going into it, that, man, this kid is, I can't imagine being that kid. I'm like, man, I'm watching a movie and I created that, So that made it fun. I mean, I actually like, a lot of people don't like Megalon's design. I'm all right with it. I think it's all right. It's very typical of what they were doing in Japan at that time in the late 70s.
Oh yeah.
All those TV shows. It's very typical of that. So I dig it. I mean, I like Gigan better. I mean, if you're gonna let me, if I got to choose, I think Gigan's design is a little bit better than Megalon. Megalon has a lot of detail that Gigan is missing, so I like that.
He did, even
especially in the head area.
Yeah, I thought the head was super detailed. Yeah. I mean, there's even around its mouth, there's hair and things.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Detailed.
There's a lot of detail to it, and so that's what I like about it. Is they created this new monster, and they gave it the detail. And like I said, I still like Gigan better, but that doesn't mean this one isn't good. It's basically just a personal favorite versus if I had to pick the two. And I think I've mentioned it in other podcasts. I call Gigan and Megalon the Beavis and Butthead of the Godzilla
dude, they
universe.
are, and they act like that in ways in this movie too together.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, exactly. So I always say that's the man, Beavis and Butthead of the Godzilla verse. And so, but that's what makes it so much fun. If somebody sat on the sofa and wanted to say, "Why are you watching this?" And it's just, this movie's not even. It is. You just have to sit and give it a chance. And so saying negative things about it, I'm like, man, I feel kind of bad about it, because I enjoy this movie so much that the negatives get canceled out by how much fun I have by watching it. So much fun that what Mystery Science Theater did a spoof on it.
Yep, just got my hands on a copy of that. Can't wait to watch that.
I saw that on the flick. Yeah, I want to check that. I haven't seen it in years. And, the fact that Mystery Science Theater even did it, to me, is a plus for this movie. Because it tells you how much of a cult status it has and how much fun it is. Mm-hmm. Because I remember sitting there watching it with RJ, and RJ would laugh at some scenes because it was funny, in some scenes. So all the positives about this movie kind of cancel out all the bad things that I think went in. The bad, of course, is I'm going to go ahead and say what I didn't like is I didn't like how can I put this here in a way that I mean, even though I don't mind the stock footage, I wish they could have added a little bit more to it. You know, in other words, cut some more new scenes rather than use the stock footage. I'm okay with stock footage, but I'd rather than have used a little bit more. The soundtrack is I don't really like it that much. I didn't think it's one of the weaker ones. If it even, let's just put it this way, it's not memorable, at all. And
not even the Jet Jaguar song, the punch, punch, punch.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty, I don't know. It's very subpar. That's what I didn't like about it. And I didn't think some of the actors were all right, but I thought the acting was also on par with the budget they had. And so that's what I didn't like. That's about all I could say. Really, I didn't like about it. And like I said, the story was a little weak, but it's all right.
What about you, Mark?
That's it for me, boss.
What about likes and dislikes?
Likes, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good kid starter Godzilla movie. I mean, they kind of try to make it a little fun, and I go back to that car scene where they're going off road and down the steps where the motorcycle and the two cars are chasing each other. And I thought, this is crazy. This would never happen. These cars would fall apart. But hey, it's cool. I can deal with this. It's not that bad. But I thought overall it's a decent movie. And when you get on Mystery Science Theater, you're getting somewhere as far as the cult world goes.
Oh,
that people enjoy. And I agree. The soundtrack, they could have probably did without any of that. I really didn't enjoy it. But bringing on Jet Jaguar, I think was good. And I thought, and I'm not sure if they've used him anymore after that.
Nope.
But I thought he was a pretty decent fixture in the movie, where if Godzilla's got to team up, he's going to team up with somebody, a new character like that. The stock footage, I can take it or leave it on that. It's I expressed before we started recording how there was a couple shots of where Megalon is smacking a jet, but it's Gigan's arm that's doing it. And so it's like, okay, but Gigan's not been introduced in the movie yet. How is he doing? That kind of deal. But overall, I enjoyed it. And, it definitely, the human characters in it were decent, and the plot was kind of cheesy in a way, the calling of Megalon, that little ceremony they had, that was kind of corny and cheesy.
Yeah.
Megalon.
but I think overall it was a decent movie.
I think with this one too. I mean, it's fun. It is a ton of fun. I mean, there are weak moments. I mean, I will say, as far as the stock footage, I'll just go ahead and do with the things I didn't like about this film. I did feel the stock footage was handled a lot better in this movie than Godzilla vs. Gigan, because there were so many.
I would agree.
Clearly different Godzilla films. In this one, they seem to at least try to make the stock footage usage quick, and try to hide things. We talked about when he's attacking. Megalon's attacking Tokyo. If you look through the smoke, and if you're watching the VHS, you can't really tell. But especially on like the Showa release or the Kraken Blu-ray, or not the Kraken Blu-ray, the Tokyo Shock Blu-ray, you can see with the quality of the transfer. If you look through the smoke, it's Gigan's fins on his back. And, so it's like, but they cut it quick. They try to make it quick. So it works. It's a lot easier to handle. So I mean, the stock footage does kind of suck, but they handled it a whole lot better. Soundtrack, I'm with you guys. Soundtrack was extremely forgettable. Like you're not going to get any of the cool soundtrack from Akira Ifukube on any of this. So very, very lackluster. But I did like the characters were okay. They were, I guess, kind of like a weak point. The guy who played Goro, does a much better job in Terror of Megagodzilla than he did in this film. I almost feel like this was his first film almost, because he just wasn't that great of an actor. But I mean, other than that, I mean, the special effects were definitely subpar. I can give that a pass because of the budget of the film. I mean, they shot the film in 3 weeks, I think. I mean, it's the fastest shooting of any Godzilla film ever. But I mean, with all the negatives aside, it's built cult status for a reason, because it is an extremely fun film. I mean, bringing in, the Seatopia characters was very odd and interesting, but at least it was different than what we're used to, than the Exilians or the Keylocks. I mean, this was a very, not alien, but obviously because they're from Earth, but it was a very different culture that kind of brought me back to the civilization of Mu from Atragon. Kind of reminded me of them a bit in this movie. But it was a really good, good attempt, I guess, at another culture, but it was still a lot of fun. But I mean, I got to give a lot of praise to this one. I mean, this Godzilla suit, probably one of my more least favorite suits. It was very TV. I mean, that's the best way. I'm glad they used it for Zone Fighter, because it looks great on Zone Fighter. When you put it in a TV world and a TV budget, this suit actually, I think, does translate better in the Zone Fighter episodes than this actual film. But it's still a good suit, but in compared to other of the movie suits, especially the suit we just left from, to me, and what the suit we're fixing to go to, Godzilla from Megagodzilla, this suit was kind of like, what in the world just happened? Like, like what? I don't get it, But he's supposed to be friendly, superhero, very superhero in this film. But to me, Jet Jaguar was honestly the starring moment of the film. I love Jet Jaguar because I felt like, hey, you could have actually given this a shot without Godzilla, because when he first, gets Godzilla, he comes back, he realizes he's got to keep Megalon busy until Godzilla gets there. So he increases his size with no explanation whatsoever, by the way. I mean, he's the size of a man. And then all of a sudden he does a couple cool little Ultraman arm moves, and then he's the size of Godzilla. No explanation. Like, how is that even physically possible? But I mean, hey, it's a Godzilla movie. Yes. We'll let it slide. But the fight sequence with him and Megalon, even when Gigan coming in, I thought was absolutely stellar. It was really, really good. He held his own.
That was the high point, I think. I mean, I didn't bring that up, but the high, the battle sequences, that one's up there with when Godzilla, appears. I mean, it's really good. It's choreographed excellently.
I think so. Good. Yeah, and even when Godzilla shows up, because by the time Godzilla shows up, Jet Jaguar's getting his butt handed to him. When Gigan shows up,
they've double teamed him.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, they've got him. I mean, just down to nothing. And then he shows up, and I absolutely loved it, because he shows up and he's like, "Let me remind you who I am," and just proceeds to tear in to Megalon and Gigan like it's. I mean, it's like a 30-second fight, and they're both on the ground, just done for. It's like, King of the Monsters for a reason, right here. But it got even better from then. I mean, each stage of that fight just continued on, and I love the part where Gigan's got Jet Jaguar in the ground. Godzilla comes over to rescue him, pulls him out, and while he's trying to pull him out, Megalon's shooting those fireballs off, and then next thing you know, they're encircled in an entire ring of fire. And that is such a cool moment. And they're like, "Oh man, what's going to happen?" Which we know they weren't going to get out. But I mean, it's like, which it was weird, because it's like, it's Godzilla, he'll just walk through it. Yeah. But no, they got to make it all super intense and stuff. And then he gets on Jet Jaguar's back, and they fly over, and then dude, it just goes down from that point. I mean, they just continue to just beat Megalon and Gigan to a pulp. And then of course we get go ahead. I thought Ruben was saying something. My bad.
I just was going to say it escalates.
Oh yeah. It just continues to escalate.
It escalates. It starts off, and it's. I'm going to say it again. It's kind of like it's a finely choreographed wrestling match. You have the bad guy lose it, and all of a sudden he comes back, and then here comes Godzilla with a chair.
Exactly. Well, dude, and it just goes up from there, I think, because then they beat they send Gigan packing, and it's just
you got to go through the hand signals. He's telling Jaguar, hey, pick him up, throw him in the air. Almost.
Oh, dude, it's tag teaming, man. I'm on the ropes.
Great.
Tag me in, dude. It really is. I mean, it is 70s pro wrestling all the way.
Oh, it is.
Even to the point of the silly moves, to where once it's down to just Megalon, Then we had Godzilla doing the dance in Monster Zero. We had him flying him in Smog Monster. Now we got him riding his own tail, kicking Megalon.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably,
That's
people are like, oh man, Godzilla King of the Monsters was just too silly. Go watch 3 Godzilla films and tell me that again, especially this one.
That's right. Exactly.
It's like, how does that giant monster do just on his tail, which is barely dragging on the ground when you watch it,
Oh, yeah.
But still,
he's laid out. He's laid out, feet coming right at him. It is, you know what's about to happen.
It's like, dude. But, even though as silly as it is, you're like, this is great. This is so much fun. And that's really, that's the appeal of this film. And I think why, and almost kind of a pre-Marvel oversaturation. I mean, when you think of Marvel Comics back in the 90s, they heavily oversaturated the market with comic books, mainly because at the time they had direct sales going to comic book stores now and their own publishing company, publishing their own actual books and printing them. So the reason why the comics went down in the 90s was oversaturation of the product. In the 70s and 80s, and even to this point, but especially there in the late 70s and early 80s, every movie company was pushing this movie out. They were releasing their own version. They oversaturated the market with Godzilla versus Megalon, but it worked in a great way. I think that helped stimulate this movie to become a cult classic film. Because if you talk to anybody who may not even know Godzilla, but they're, that age range that grew up in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, if you think of it, they're going to go, oh, what's that one with the robot and the bug guy? Everyone's going to know this movie. And it's earned that cult status because of how popular it was on TV every Saturday, all the way up into the early 2000s. This was one of the most sought after films to be released on Blu-ray when it first came out. I mean, like, they wanted to make a huge deal out of this movie when Tokyo Shock got it, to the point that they were going to make that all the special features, but of course Toho said, "Oh no, we're going to do that." And oops, 1,000 copies with special features that accidentally goes out. It's like, oh, that just helped insinuate this movie for what it was and make it even more cult status. Again, the Mystery Science Theater 3000 stint, which is huge. I mean, they did do 2 Gamera films from back then. Mystery Science Theater 3000 did, and they actually did another Godzilla film. They got Godzilla Sea Monster, but no one hears about that. Most people are like, they did Gamera, they did another Godzilla film. Who knew? Yeah. But they did Godzilla versus Megalon. I mean, it is that movie. For the Showa era. What even though it could arguably be one of the least best films of the Showa, it's one of the best films because of its cult status. It's such a good movie.
Yes.
It's one of those ones where it's like, man, you guys got to watch this movie, but I don't know why I'm saying it, because you probably have already watched this movie. It's the Godzilla film that if anybody's seen a Godzilla film, this is the film that they've seen.
Exactly. Well, I think one of the things I noticed in reading up on some of the back, stories, the first 3 days in Texas and Louisiana at the theaters, they brought in almost $400,000 in 3 days in just those 2 states, which I thought was, that's pretty good. Yeah. And so, the word was out there and they were kind of pushing it. And then it just kept going and kept rolling and rolling. And then everybody picks up on it. And then it's, every Saturday it's on somewhere.
I would love to know the numbers of what this movie's made as far as its American theatrical release and all the American home video releases. I would love to know how much. I mean, I would guarantee that this was probably. I would not be surprised if this was, as far as home video release and money it made on the western side of the world, was the highest grossing Godzilla film from the show era. I would not be surprised at all.
Because I mean, definitely.
Because if you combine it all, together, I would venture to say yes.
Yeah, I want to find that out.
Yeah,
and I will.
You've got homework now.
I got homework now. I'm going to find this one out.
On our next episode, we will know.
So I mean, it's super fun film. This is. I'm so excited about where we're going, because the next film in the Godzilla movies that we're doing is one of my personal favorites. But I'm glad to finally have gotten to this one, because I feel like this one just deserves a lot of credit. That I don't think any Godzilla fan wouldn't give this film. You know, I mean, everyone's going to have the movies they don't like, whether it's the '98 film Godzilla's Revenge or Son of Godzilla or Godzilla versus King Ghidorah in '91. They're going to have the films, but there's going to be those films in the movie series, in the entire series, that I think all Godzilla fans can get together on and say, this is just a great movie. And I think this is one of those, because unlike, Godzilla's Revenge was campy, but it didn't realize that it tried to be a serious film, and that was one of its flaws. Right. This movie is extremely campy, but it's like they knew that and rode with it. And those movies that know what they are, I do this, in defense of B movies all the time. The movie makers know what they're making. They know what the film is, and when they actually have fun with it, it turns out great.
Right.
And I think that was the scenario with this Godzilla film. They knew, hey, 3 weeks of shooting, lowest budget ever. Let's just have fun, And they really, really did, and it came out to me in the end product.
Yeah, that's what makes it. Like I mentioned before, they didn't take themselves seriously when they make this movie, and it flows through to you. It flows through to the viewer. The viewer knows, you know what, these guys knew what they were making, and they made it. They did the best with what they had, and they made a very fun movie that I think anyone can enjoy. It's just fun to watch. It's just I can't say it enough how much fun it is to watch and to see the interactions between the monsters, between Gigan and Megalon and Godzilla and and Jet Jaguar. Just see the interactions and stuff, and it's just it's even fun to watch some of the special effects and how silly they are. You look at them, you're like, oh, look at that, look at that soldier. Obviously, he's not a real soldier sitting on that jeep. But it makes it fun.
Remember, as a kid, when you see the scene of Rakuru or whatever, Goro's little brother, throwing that model airplane at the Zootopia guy, I remember as a kid going, is that the same plane they used when Megalon knocked one down? Or it looks the same.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It looks the same. Yeah.
Well,
exactly. That's what makes it fun.
And it's just like when I was saying, the way the movie starts out, here's an 8 or 9 year old kid. He's 30 yards out in the middle of a lake. And they're sitting up on the bank drinking Cokes and just relaxing, and then here comes the earthquake, and then they're like, come on, get out. It's like, dude, he's 30 yards out. He's only 8 or 9.
How about you be a good big brother, jump in after your little brother there. I mean, something's going down that he may need your help. Yeah. And what was that he was on? I mean, those big colorful dolphin.
Yeah, I don't know what that thing.
I want one.
A paddle boat, automatic paddle boat. I mean,
because he had the 2 joysticks on the top. Because he definitely wasn't paddling. If he was, he sucked at paddling because he wasn't going anywhere.
And what's he throw out there? I thought he said it would get the rocket. Is what
I thought. That's what he says. Get the rocket.
Yeah. What was that? He just throws it out there.
I mean, when you're Goro, then you just got a rocket with rope tied to it in your back pocket, apparently. I mean, of all things, that was so random. Get the rocket. Yeah, get the rocket. And then he shoots this not rocket, because it didn't even look like a rocket. Yeah. It looked like, those party poppers that you pull.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden it shoots 50 yards out with rope attached to it. Like that's
right to him.
Yeah.
It was great.
First try, too. I mean, talking about skill set those guys have. It was unbelievable. And then Rakuru or whatever, the little boy, he wraps it around those joystick handles. I'm like, that's not going to hold. It held. Okay.
Got him all the way to the shore. Saved him. Saved him.
God, I mean, like I said, obviously, guys, fun movie. Super, super fun movie. What do we go on the Stomp rating this one? We gave this
is a 3.
3 out of 5. And we had discussed that previously. Mark actually gave it a solid straight 3.
I was the high man this time.
Yeah, me and Ruben were giving it a 2, 2.5, but we ultimately decided on a 3 because of the cult status of the film. I mean, it really deserved an extra half point at least for that.
Yeah.
They finally listened to me. I am excited. I'm moving up on the ladder.
Yeah, we were like, all right, we're at the bottom level of Godzilla films. Let's give Mark something. We got to throw him a bone this time.
Yeah, let me do something. Let me feel proud.
So, but definitely, 3 out of 5. totally fun movie, man. I mean, it's one of those ones where is it one of the Godzilla films that I'm just going to automatically put on because I want to watch a Godzilla film? Not always. If it's on, I totally want to watch it though. You know what I mean? It's just because as soon as I see any scene from the movie, I'm like, oh yeah, and then this happens, and then oh man, this happens, and oh, I want to see Jet Jaguar do that. You know, so I mean, yeah, I'm totally going to watch this movie. It's an absolute great time.
Yeah,
absolutely,
it's watchable.
Ruben, got anything else you want to say on it?
No, it's a fun movie. If you're just going, let's just say that if we had to rank it on fun alone, it would get 5 stars.
Oh yeah,
it's that much fun. Yeah,
it really.
If we're just ranking it, just like which is the one of the most fun Godzilla films you've ever watched, this one would be right up there. It would get 5 stars easily because it's so much fun. Even the alien costumes, the budget was so low. They said, you know what, we'll just put on some togas and throw some togas on them and call them aliens. And I failed to mention, I kind of like the idea. I didn't throw it in, but I like the Seatopia idea that they were, this nuclear test, and they were living in peace and left us alone. But now all of a sudden, we've nuked them, so we've awoken the Seatopians, and somehow they have they're in contact with space hunters. Space Hunter.
Yeah. How did that happen?
How does that? Like all of a sudden, hey, you make a phone call, man. Tell me you need Gigan over here.
Like, what? How long y'all been talking to the space cockroaches? That's what I want to know because that was never explained. You just pick up a telephone, like, hey, man.
Yeah.
I know your last time here didn't go so good, but can we get some help?
Hey, we're sending you Gigan.
It was like, oh man. You know what? Let's give him a call and get Gigan over here.
Yeah.
What the heck?
It makes you wonder, man. Like, do those villains in the Godzilla movies? They have like a black phone book. It's like
let's call these guys out right now.
Like the Legion of Doom. It's like, oh man, Lex is like, call up this guy. We need him. We need Brainiac. They just got a phone book.
Yeah.
Oh well, there's
that's exactly what I was about to say. Mark beat me to it. Legion of Doom.
It's like,
get old Solomon Grundy down here.
What other B-list characters do we got in the Toho library we can bring just to make this a little more even? So, yeah, it's super fun movie, man. And Ruben, you too. I think you hit on it too, talking about RJ. This being his first film, it's the first film for a lot of Godzilla fans. I'm personally glad. Thank you, Mark, for this not being my first Godzilla film because I don't know how things would have went.
What was that? The Sony Godzilla I showed you for? Oh
no,
that wasn't. Okay,
so you're a good father. Okay,
here's how good I am. I found a character on Chase's in his nerd room of the Sony Godzilla.
Oh my
yes,
gosh.
I have a picture of it, Ruben.
He did.
He has it. He has it.
Okay, no. Hold up. Time out. Okay.
It was there. I just had to do it. Had to do it.
As most Godzilla fans know, when you can buy sets of the candy toys, the little toys, and you'll get like a 9-pack of Godzilla figures, and there's like 4 burning Godzillas, all different colors. Godzilla 54. They came with like a Godzilla. One came with a Godzilla Jr. Well, one set came with the '98 Godzilla. It wasn't like, hey, I bought that by itself. It just happened to come.
So you have a shelf, and you have a trash can. He went with the shelf. It is on display.
I'm not going to throw away something that's in the Godzilla fandom, unfortunately. I mean,
on that one, I would. On that,
I would just toss it. It was going out. Anyways,
but it's front and center on his shelf.
It is not front and center.
I will send you. I will put a picture on Facebook, Ruben. You'll see it.
It is second shelf, third shelf down. Okay, third shelf down, a little to the right. All right, I know where it's at.
Wow.
So, dude, I mean, I'm OCD. I had to put those things in an exact order, chronologically, is the order it goes in. But so, anyways, back to it. What I was saying about Ruben and RJ.
Sorry, I had to go there.
It's, a lot of people were introduced to Godzilla from this. Gavin, Mark's grandson, my youngest kid. This was his first Godzilla film. Well, no, I take it back. Actually, his first Godzilla experience was the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla cartoons. That's what he used to go. I used to put him to bed to. He'd go to sleep watching those as a baby. But now his first movie that he got to sit down and watch was Godzilla vs. Megalon. And for the longest time, this was the only one he'd watch. because like Jet Jaguar was his dude.
Oh yeah.
So we'll go play
the
Godzilla games, any of the ones that came out for the PlayStation 2, Xbox era, Destroy All Monsters Melee and stuff. And he's always wanting to play Unleashed or Save the Earth because he's got to play Jet Jaguar. He loves playing Jet Jaguar. So I mean, it really is. This is, a lot of, especially, the kids in the 70s and 80s, and even on. So then, this was when they first saw Godzilla. This is what they got. So, and then of course they probably went back and watched the Godzilla King of the Monsters. Was like, this is terrifying. Like, this is not the Godzilla I know. But this movie was. I think there's certain movies that are definitely bigger on the introduction for Godzilla, being King of the Monsters or Monster Zero. Megalon definitely is one of those ones where a lot of people were introduced to Godzilla because of it.
Yeah, and I think you touched on the point. I don't think if it wasn't for Jet Jaguar, this may not be the first movie I introduced him with. I think I knew, subconsciously somehow. Well, because of my nephew. I knew my nephew enjoyed it, so I knew RG. But Jet Jaguar makes it more interesting for the kids. And then
it does.
Oh yeah, and so if it was like just a Jet Jaguar movie, this it'd be like you touched on earlier. It would be fun just as a Jet Jaguar. Godzilla having Godzilla in it is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if this would be the first movie I would introduce them to, the Godzilla movie, if it wasn't for Jet Jaguar.
Right.
Because that just made it more attractive to kids, or more.
Yeah, well, he's got that.
I thought, okay, he'd like that
Humanoid superhero character in there, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he may not have enjoyed it as much. But let's say this was just a Godzilla movie, and he took on Gigan and Megalon. It would still be a good Godzilla movie, but I don't know if it'd be as good, to get the cult status without Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, I don't think it would have. I'm in agreement with you. I think Jet Jaguar is definitely the deal breaker on this one in a good, positive way.
And with Gavin, it moved him look into Ultraman.
Jet Jaguar definitely. If anything, this movie definitely kick-started Gavin into Godzilla, but Jet Jaguar solely kicked him into his Ultraman craze, because as much as Gavin does like Godzilla, he is he's a huge Ultraman fanatic.
Oh yeah. That Ultraman series, all of them. I haven't seen all of them, but man, they're so good.
Dude, Gavin, he absolutely loves it. In the Nerd Vault that I've got, he actually has his own shelf, a full shelf full of probably 20 plus Ultraman figures. He's got 4 Ultraman movies up there, 3 Ultraman Tiga ones, and he's got 2 Ultraman comic books. So he's an Ultraman. He's diehard.
Oh yeah,
he's diehard when it comes to Ultraman, and he'll tell you he knows who they are too. And there's a lot. It's not like hey, you've got 15, 20 different monsters in the Godzilla movie series. You've got like 40 plus Ultramans and then hundreds of monsters. Oh yeah. And he'll see one and he'll go, "Oh, this is Ultraman Tiga, or this is Ultraman Gaia."
Oh, and he looks at you like, "Don't you know that?"
Yeah, it's like,
I will whip off
knowledge.
10 names here, and you're supposed to know everything about each one of them. And he's like, "Hey, where you been?" It's like it's really cool that he's into it.
Absolutely loves it.
That's great. That's great. I remember the first time seeing I had already been introduced to Godzilla, but then I didn't know about Ultraman. I knew about Jet Jaguar before Ultraman. Then one Saturday afternoon, it came on TV, and I was, I just happened to be flipping through channels, and I thought it was going to be a Godzilla movie because I saw the Ultraman, and the funny thing, it wasn't on regularly. Like, I can even remember time. It was from 1 to 1:30. It was a half hour. But it wouldn't come on every Saturday. They would just show it randomly. And I'm like, man, I want to see, I'd go look for it. And as a kid, man, I that Ultraman. That's so cool.
I still
I thought it was the coolest thing.
My introduction to Ultraman was Ultra 7 back when TNT started rerunning Ultra 7 in the late 90s or maybe mid 90s. They did it on TV, and it was early. Like most people are, parents are like, "Oh man, it's 7:00 in the morning. I gotta get my kid up 6:30, dude." I was up like setting my alarm as an 8-year-old, going, "Dude, I'm about to see Dan Muraboshi and Ultra 7 tear into some bad guys," because I loved it, man. For me, that was And it was because it was a weekday show. It wasn't even at that time. Wasn't even a weekend show. It was just weekday.
Oh wow!
Yeah, weekday mornings. And so here I am, like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old. I don't know how old I was. Around about that time. You think?
Yeah, about 8.
Oh, dude, and I was up, man. I mean, 6:30, dude. I was ready with my cereal, and it was Ultra 7 time, man. And
right in front of the TV on the floor,
oh, dude,
eating cereal and watching.
No bowl needed.
Oh yeah.
Need me a bowl.
There, yeah.
No more.
Just pour the cereal on the carpet. I'm good.
Oh yeah. He's happy.
And it's funny you should say that. I had a friend that I would, we'd have sleepovers. I would wake up on a weekend, whenever we had sleepovers, it was always on the weekend. It'd be Friday night, spend the night. I'd get up about 7:30, 8 o'clock for Bugs Bunny. That was what I wanted to get up for. But I remember spending the night at this guy's house. Man, we were up at 6:30 because we were going to watch our cartoons from then on. And with a bowl of cereal, sitting in front of the TV watching the banana splits and whatever else.
Oh,
I love the banana splits.
Banana splits being on real early in the morning.
Dude,
It was like,
did you watch the movie?
6:30 in the morning.
This is totally no, you didn't. Oh man, the Banana Splits movie that just came out last year.
Yeah, I thought you had it on the Plex. I went looking for it the other night and I couldn't find it.
I'll have to see if it should be on there. If not, I'll get it back. I'll get it back on there. Oh man, it was great.
Yeah,
it was so good. Very jacked up movie. I mean, like,
yeah.
For those, and we'll wrap up the episode on this one here. But Banana Splits for back in the early '60s was one of the kind of like Bozo the Clown. Was an interactive kids TV show that predates what we get today, or as Blue's Clues and things like that. And you had the Banana Splits, which was a team of not animatronic in the new movie they are, but of these characters. You had the dog, the bear, the elephant. I'm trying to remember who all you had on that show.
I'm trying to think,
but it was that kids
HR,
entertainment.
HR Puff and stuff was their leader.
Yes,
I always thought he was a leader.
So I mean, so you had these characters, and it was a kids live interactive show, kind of like Bozo and stuff. That was a really big hit back then, especially in the early '60s, and it ran through it ran well into the '70s. Because it was such a popular show. Well, last year they made a horror movie about the Banana Splits, and it was absolutely insane, man. First off, I think the guy who voiced HR, no, was it HR? I think it was actually the guy who voiced HR is the same guy. If not the same guy, he sounds just like Tigger. So when you watch him killing people, you're like, I'll never watch Tigger the same. Like, do not let that thing bounce around me because this is jacked up. But in the movie, it's like this kid who's a big fan. He's a young kid, so like Ava's age, this takes in modern day time. Happens to be a fan of Banana Splits from the 60s and 70s and had never stopped running. And so for his birthday, his parents get him tickets to see the final airing of the Banana Split show, or at least they don't know it, until they get there. And the guy who they're animatronic characters, kind of like Chuck E. Cheese, and the guy who makes them just updated their software, and they find out that they're being canceled. This is their last show ever, and the software kind of goes all Terminator style, like AI takes control and realizes the show can never end. So they kidnap all these kids that are there for the filming of the show because they've got them trapped in a room, and it's like the show can never end. It's like they're going to keep these kids here for eternity. And then they start killing all of these adults. Like they just start whacking these adults off in some jacked up ways. It's crazy. I mean, like, kids are like, yeah, let's watch Banana Splits. Not this one. This is for us who grew up watching Banana Splits. This is not for kids today. It was good. It was definitely good. I'll never watch Tigger again, though. I promise you. Hearing him talk as HR is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So, anyways, we went from Godzilla to I don't know what. Then the Banana Splits.
How
did we get there?
On Facebook. The other day, that we start recording these shows and we go from Godzilla to Star Wars in a flash and start talking about.
That's what makes them fun.
It is.
That's what makes them fun. You're right.
But all right, guys. So
check it out.
Definitely, and we've got somebody who needs to answer a question for us here in a moment.
There we go.
Definitely stay tuned for the next episode this month. We're going to kind of cram a bunch of them together because I was sick last week. So we kind of got pushed back a week doing these. But the next monster movie, Stompdown, is the final Kong film before Godzilla vs. Kong this November. We will be hitting Kong Skull Island, which is Man, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I like this. I'm excited about this one because this is the Kong I've been waiting for a long time. And then, of course, after that, we go right back to Godzilla with Godzilla versus Megodzilla. Another one I'm super stoked for. I think one of the final shining moments of the show before Godzilla goes away for 10 years. So definitely stay tuned for those. Again, Kong Skull Island is going to be the next one. This one's going to be a lot of fun because nothing beats Samuel L. Jackson versus King Kong. I mean, Godzilla versus Kong's got a lot to live up to. I mean, because Sam Jackson, Shaft versus Kong. Like, it's kind of hard to top that. So that'll be a lot of fun. Definitely join us for that one. And since our guest has done her best to be quiet tonight, we did tell her, since she's here, to let us know what her favorite Godzilla movie is. Ava, what's your favorite Godzilla movie?
This one.
This one? You didn't even watch this one.
I barely.
I thought you said Godzilla 2014 was your favorite one earlier.
Yeah, they both are.
No, they are very good movies. 2014 was a great movie. Yeah. See, now Ava, because Papa Mark will watch these films and usually has Ava because he helps babysit or you'll keep Ava when she's not in school. She gets to sit down and watch these movies with Papa Mark. So we had to ask her earlier what was her, and she's like, I don't know. Tell me a name. And
I don't know.
She ended up figuring out Godzilla 2014 was the one she had liked the most. Yes. So, well, Ava, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being quiet enough for us to be able to do the show. We appreciate it. Our listeners appreciate it. And so we definitely want to say goodnight to everybody. So, Ava, can you say goodnight?
Good night.
This is Sludge.
And Mark.
And Ruben.
Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
All right.